next up, we have a panel of ladies, which is always brilliant to see. They are going to talk about crypto art, so NFT art and the artists themselves in the digital world. So let's give a warm welcome to Karen, Silje, Stina, Lapin, and Charmaine. I hope I pronounce them right.
Right, thanks everyone for joining us. We seem to be running ahead of schedule, so that's great. Hello? Hello? I think it is on. Yeah, it's on now. Right, thanks everyone for joining us. I'm Charmaine Short. I'm an art collector and the CEO of Etiverse, and I'm joined today by my friends, UK-based OG artists. We have Lapin Mignon, we have Stina Jones, we have Silje Thorn, and we have Karen Francis Eng. We are all founding members of the Women of Cryptoart, which is a DAO, and we have over 1,300 members. Anyone is welcome to join. You don't have to be a woman, but what we do is we support women artists creating NFTs. And we have values for anybody who wants to join our organisation. The values are diversity, equality, fairness and inclusion. And we're keen to do collabs with any other Web3 projects that share our values. And today we're here to discuss the interplays between technology and art, both as individual artists and through our many collaborations. So as an art movement, as distinct from other NFT applications, Cryptoart's unique because it integrates blockchain not only as a way to establish provenance, value and tradability for digital artists, but it also adds a dimension to the medium itself. So, Karen, you're an experimental artist and you're known for working on sort of town-scale installations and live animated projection onto large buildings, as well as work with VR and AR plus AI. So, how has blockchain changed the way that artists create their art?
Hi, thanks. Thanks for everybody for coming. We're a little bit early, and also we had art slides, but they're not showing up for some reason. So if anybody in the back could put our slides up, that would be great. But in the meantime, I'll answer the question. Yeah, so it's been a really exhilarating time to be a digital artist. I think that blockchain has liberated our art from the screens. As a digital artist before this, we were kind of confined to like staring at our screens, possibly occasionally sharing on Instagram, occasionally making a print, selling something on Etsy, but there was nowhere else for this to go. And then, so then I actually started to make the large-scale projection artworks, and that seemed like a great way to go, but that was also very site-specific. And digital art is, in a way, even though it's very shareable, can be very, we can be really isolated from each other. So it wasn't until 2019 that I learned about what blockchain technology could do. It created all these really interesting infrastructural possibilities for us that weren't possible before. So editioning our work and finding a way to archive it, to program the art itself, and also building virtual galleries to share art with people all around the world. And all of this was on our own terms, and we weren't used to that, right? We were used to sort of like sitting in our bedrooms, hoping that someone would notice us. And so we like found this extraordinary community. And so it's been a really, really exciting time, but with all this capacity also comes a huge amount of responsibility. Because in the last few years, not only have we had to like continue our creative trajectory as individual artists, we've also had to keep up with all the technology and social changes and financial changes that have been happening. So yeah, it's just been an incredible time, and it's now past COVID, coming and meeting all of you has been a very special moment as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would just point out we've known each other for like 3 years, but it was only last week that we all saw what each other's faces looked like. So it's just been incredible to meet in real life. So Stina, so you were an early adopter of NFTs back in 2018 as part of the first wave of artists to tokenize works on the Ethereum blockchain. And you're known for your sort of whimsical character artworks. And you've been exhibited worldwide from the metaverse, urban walls, and traditional galleries and auction houses. So how has Web3 empowered digital artists and creators?
Well, for me, I mean, I think the NFT, it simply turns the digital file into, something like tangible, but while retaining, its native format. So I think the empowerment actually comes from the way that the NFT can be distributed or displayed or preserving the artwork as well. So, the use cases for smart contracts are so vast anyway. I mean, monetization being the most obvious. And we're also seeing all sorts of artist tools, sort of being built around this technology as well, which is just making it all the more accessible to artists as well without needing to, know how to code Solidity. There's like tools to embed NFTs into other NFTs. There's tools to make the artwork more dynamic so that, it can sort of change depending on like the time of day or the season, and that's only just scratching the surface really. So, it's even really useful as an archiving tool. I mean, when I first started exploring this technology, I found it particularly useful for documenting my street art. So these pieces are so temporary. So most of the time, the works only really live on in photos or in sketchbook, works. So one of the things I used to do to preserve the works was I create a miniature version of the artwork on cardboard, and then I'd sort of hide it around the place I was painting, and then I'd sort of do a bit of a scavenger hunt online. So post clues online, and sort of if anyone could find it, you can keep it. So. And this was like a really great way to connect on a deeper level than just hitting the like button on Instagram. But I really wanted to like widen that reach and connect with more people in the same way, but outside the local area. So I found that NFTs really bridged that gap for me. In early 2019, I created a piece of street art. I'm not sure if it's up on the screen at the moment. This one. It was meant as both a sort of love letter to my Egyptian heritage as well, and also like a tribute to the street cats that I also used to see sort of roaming the city. So it was important that it had to be a piece of street art, but instead of dropping miniatures around the local areas, I ended up dropping 100 free-to-claim NFTs on known origin. And so for my audience, claiming them was a bit like a scavenger hunt in themselves, because like I only knew a handful of people that even heard of NFTs, and you had to go through all this process of getting a wallet signed up and sort of loading it with some crypto for the gas. So they took 43 days to mint out all 100 of them. But the connections that I made along the way were incredible. I mean, so many of the editions were actually collected by other artists as well, which was great. So that led to like further opportunities for collaborations and exhibitions, and it was just really wonderful, really. So.
Yeah, because I remember you were one of the first artists that I heard of when I started collecting art, and I've got that cat, so it's very dear to me. Okay. Silje, you've been involved in innovative and record-breaking art collaborations, and you've had your work displayed in exhibitions in places like London and New York. How has the metaverse enabled crypto artists to get their work seen by a wider audience?
So the metaverse has basically enabled us to take physical space out of the equation. It's great to go to a gallery in physical space, but what we've been able to do in the metaverse is do virtual galleries. And that way, anyone from around the world can participate. So it's really opened up accessibility and also made it so that we can put them up really fast. So for example, 2 years ago in 2020, we put up a she art exhibition in Cryptovoxels. And that exhibition went from ideation to launch in just a few days, which is just impossible to do in physical space. And it's incredible that we could have artists from all over the world participating in that. So it's really opened things up. Although what people don't, or sort of another part of the metaverse that people don't think about as much is also augmented reality. So for those that aren't familiar with the term augmented reality, it's basically where you take the real world and then you add a digital layer on top of it. And so basically, it's like Instagram filters and Snapchat filters. That's a perfect example of augmented reality. And there's lots of opportunities in there as well for digital artists. Like Instagram filters and things like that get lots of engagement. People love to use it. And they're not just about like makeup and silly hats and things like that. The technology is actually really far gone. You can do interactive art with them. You can, for example, Snapchat. They have introduced a feature where you can. They basically mapped out all of London and all of Los Angeles, so you can drop in augmented reality effects anywhere in the cities. So that opens up things like virtual or augmented reality exhibitions, where you can tie them to a physical space. You can make them interactive. You can make them. You can do little treasure hunts. You can do lots of things, and that's a really great way for digital artists to sort of engage. This is something that is really hard to do in the same way, sort of with physical things, because digital is just so much easier. So that's definitely something that I think people should consider for sure if you're a digital artist to get into AR. And I think the metaverse and NFTs sort of have a symbiotic relationship, sort of being all digital entities, and yeah, there's just so many opportunities in there.
Yeah, and going back to the metaverse as well, there was an exhibition earlier in the year called Graffiti Queens, and there was like over 200 women artists and 300 artworks, all displayed in various metaverses, and the whole community came together to make their metaverse galleries available, and it was a great opportunity for collectors like myself to sort of go around these areas and see the vast amount of women talent that there is out there that just wouldn't have been seen if we didn't have metaverse and augmented reality platforms. So that was really cool. So Lapin, as a watercolour artist, you could be considered quite traditional. And backstage, I was a bit of a fangirl because she got out her like watercolour palette. I was like, oh my God, as a collector, you don't normally get to see artist materials. So I felt quite honoured with that. But how have digital tools and blockchain technology enabled you to augment your traditional art?
So basically, yeah, I'm using watercolor first of all because I love the feeling of the paper. I love messing with the water. So it's not being mundane, about traditional art or digital art. It's really about the feeling and making the mess. I really like my children. I'm making the mess. So you can see some process above, but I'm making the mess with my paint. So this is why I'm using watercolor, and this is quite interesting because watercolor has always been in the art history completely underrated. And one of the big reasons, it's really a fragile medium. It's really difficult to expose because it fades very, very easily. And I felt like bringing the watercolor, back in the NFT space and the digital world. Probably, I felt like putting the media such a watercolor in the center scene as well, like digital art, but as well watercolor is something. So yeah, I've been part of the first, to bring the watercolor in the NFT space, and as well being with the NFT Cryptoart community, I realized the digital tools look so cool. And because we are a community, we are a family, and basically I'm able to say, hey, I love the animation you did. What are you using? And this is this Cryptoart movement. Say, hey, this is the application I'm using. And I started basically say, okay, so I can use my watercolor and animate it. Or I can use my watercolor and play with the colors. I can generate, art as well, even, if it's watercolor. So I really, really had a lot of fun with it. But in the traditional art as well, I think a really good example, and I'm quite happy because we've got Jean as well in the room.
Hello.
He's eating. But we've been part of a wonderful exhibition, which is a Chepitsky Museum in Lviv. And it shows as well that sometimes there is an endangered culture our art, basically, using the NFT and the metaverse as a medium can help to be borderless, and can help as well to preserve, a culture that is in danger. So traditional art has a lot to play with the NFT and the digital one. And I'm so happy, as you can see, playing with it, augment. In my side, I call it basically the augmented watercolor. So blending the two, basically the two worlds can live together.
Yeah, your art is a lot of fun. It's just a really pleasure to look at, and it's so distinctive. You could tell instantly if it's a Lapin Mignon.
Thank you.
Okay, so Karen, in addition to being a founding member of WOCA, you're also a founding partner of the 105 Collective with Stina, and you're part of the publishing site, the platform. So what part has blockchain played in allowing artists to collaborate on an international basis?
So yeah, I'm a very cooperatively driven art maker. I do make solo art, but I'm at my happiest when I'm working in groups like the 105 and with WOCA. And actually, before I talk about the platform, I just wanted to talk about our wonderful Arcana Crypto Tarot, which you're looking at now. This was a project that started at the end of 2020 and took quite some time to complete. It is the major Arcana cards of the Tarot and 22 artists from 13 countries around the world getting together. All we did was create a spreadsheet on Google Docs, and this was very early in the Cryptoart time. We put the word out on the WOCA Discord, I think, and people just signed up on the spreadsheet which card they wanted to take up to draw, put their wallet address in, and the art started to come in. Then after a long process of production, we ended up minting this on async, and async generates a 3-card reading every day at midnight, at random. So anybody with a question can go visit it, and you can also embed it on your own website if you want to, and you'll get a 3-card reading, and there are interpretations written by each artist. Now, there was no plan in terms of like style, there was absolutely no rules, and this is what we came up with. As you can see, it's an extraordinary palette of styles and aesthetics. I think it comes together beautifully. So it's Silje and Stina and I are all part of this project. And, blockchain made this possible. That I think it was the first working tarot on the blockchain.
It was groundbreaking.
Yeah. And it was collected by MetaPurse
as well.
Yeah, and during this time, we were in an intense crisis with COVID. A lot of our artists were in parts of the world where the economies were falling apart, and when MetaPurse purchased this NFT, every artist immediately got the funds in their wallets. And I think for a lot of us, besides being innovative artistically, it was life-changing for a lot of people because blockchain made that possible. So we also have a blueprint coming out of this, and we have the limited edition physical decks of this. So if you're interested in possibly collecting one of those, come talk to me afterwards, and I'll tell you how to sign up for that. So I'm also a founding member of the platform, which is an artist-led DAO cooperative platform for NFT artists. We are not only a DAO, but we're also incorporating as a legal cooperative here in the UK. So that's going to give us the kind of stability that, we are not just a fly-by-night project, we really mean business. And the reason why we want to have the platform is because we want to allow multiple stakeholders to be involved in NFT contracts. So that's not just artists, but writers, designers, devs, and so on, because it's all of these people that makes crypto art ecosystem work, right? Like you see the artists, there's a huge amount of stuff that goes, marketers, for example, that don't get the glory, and they often don't get the financial reward. And so one of the things Platform wants to do is allow every one of those stakeholders to have a vote in how funds are shared, how things are created, and we're basically taking back power as artists to build the tools that we want and need so that we don't have to rely on other platforms who aren't artists who may decide to do things with our contracts that we weren't entirely sure we signed up for, not naming any names. So yeah, and Dada also, of course, is another group of people who is trying to create a more equitable ecosystem for artists and creatives on the blockchain, and that's the thing that I'm really most looking forward to coming up next.
Yeah, because you were just at the Dada meetup in Barcelona where you came fresh from that, so you're just a party animal, Karen.
Yeah, the conversations that we had at the historic NFT festival in Barcelona with Dada and a lot of the very first crypto artists, the people who basically created the scene, why we're all sitting here now, had very serious conversations about what has come before and what needs to happen next, so that artists remain in the conversation and take back the power.
Yeah, absolutely. So Stina, in terms of transition from publishing your work on Web 2 versus Web 3, how do you see the future of crypto art? And do you think like the artists are the ones at the bleeding edge building this new technology?
Well, yeah, I think that we're going to see a lot of new art genres and aesthetics sort of coming out of this scene and the technology in the future. Because, I mean, I think, well, for me anyway, and for many other digital illustrators, publishing in Web 2 platforms, like it was our social media metrics, that was our currency. You know, more likes and follows means getting the attention of art directors for commissions and sponsorship deals. All of that you need to sort of keep the lights on in the studio and keep creating. So the downside to this is that getting the attention of art directors usually encourages you to maybe lean into what's popular, and you might feel a bit discouraged for publishing anything a little bit more experimental. So yeah, I think that because the crypto art scene isn't really driven by these metrics, so it's more embracing of that kind of playful experimentation, and that's one of the things that really attracted me to this scene, and I think one of the things that will definitely keep me here.
Yeah, great. And Lapin, what do you think of the disruption that NFTs are bringing to the digital art world, and how do you think this would impact traditional art galleries?
It's massive. It's massive because we are changing the paradigm of it. We are back to the basics with the crypto art movement. I mean, someone who creates art is an artist. Someone who collects art is a collector. Sounds really dumb, isn't it? But before, we had to search for validation, you know, for an art school, for some, you know, curator, or to have the gallery behind us. This time, we are back to the basics. So yeah, there is a lot of people that, yeah, I don't like what, you know, there is a lot of art I don't like, you know, in a crypto art. Okay. But, you know, there is for everyone's taste, and, you know, it's just someone who wants to create something, who wants to make art, is an artist. And this is really important. It's an art incubator, and it is changing deeply our relation to art. And it's amazing to see people who were not going to museum before, or not even thinking they were collecting art one day, thinking like, I own art, I support artists, and actually I'm part of the ecosystem. The ecosystem actually is as well, that is being created is really powerful as well. So it's mainly due to the smart contract, and you alluded a little bit, Stina, on it, but it's we can do whatever we want with the smart contract, and this is what you're doing at the platform as well. So for the first time, you know that artists can get royalties for not even for their life, for the life of the art on the blockchain. So they get royalties if their art are getting sold, you know, on second, third sales or fourth sale. The royalties are automatically coming back to the artist. Imagine now that this ecosystem can as well, you know, expand to developers. I'm working, one of the person, because I am more traditional artist, I'm working with a friend who is a really good coder and developer, and I'm really keen for him to be like a 50-50 split, because, okay, I'm doing the art, but he is the one who augmented it, he is the one enabling it, and we can bake it in the contract. And I know that if anything's happened to me, it will still be part of the contract, and it will survive us. And we know that if you don't have an army or an advocate, you know, today in traditional art, it will never happen. This time, you know, it's worldwide, and this is happening. I put this picture because for the Crypto Art Begins, it was another thought process. They were like, what about if if in the smart contract we were basically rewarding the artists who did the art, but as well rewarding as well the collector, who in the first instance basically say, I love this, I will buy it. So this art has been collected by Pranksy in early 2020. And it's basically part of the rewarding process to say, okay, a little bit say thank you, and it's part of this. So there is a lot of ecosystem basically that can be thought about. And the third thing I wanted to say about the disruption, I think the crypto art movement is setting a precedent on how art movement will be born in the future. It's borderless, again, it's connected. So usually, if you go back to the Dada or to all this, the Cubism, or, even before, it was really local artists, gathering in cafe, having exchange and really trying, supporting each other. This time we are talking about artists around the world, trying to help each other, support each other, because we are buying art from all of us. And Fanny Lacoupe always say the best collections are always, in the artist's hands. So basically, there is this movement happening, and all the art movement that are coming in the near future will be basically copy-pasting on what the crypto art is currently setting as foundation. And the good example is if you have a look, trash art. You can laugh about it, but it's one of the biggest crypto art movement. It's just people basically gathering around the thought like, okay, trash art, we're not just making some glitch art or whatever. We are making more. We are making things together, and we are making a splash in the world. And we had now a lot of articles. You may have heard of Rob Ness, and who is he doesn't want to be the leader of this, but he is basically the one who is representing the most the trash art. And this is what is happening, and we are all together, making the foundation without knowing it, but making the foundation of the future of art. And the future is now. So. It's amazing. It's I'm really proud to be with all of you and having all of this being built before our eyes.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the members of WOCA came together. They already knew each other through the trash art movement. When Rob Ness is just like one in a million. He's a crazy guy. But yeah, it was a rebellion, wasn't it, against the traditional arts culture, and he got banned from Super Rare, whatever. And that actually helped. And I remember when we all formed WOCA, it was through a bit of frustration that we weren't getting the recognition that we deserved. And I remember sort of joking, like 2.5 years ago, saying, in the history of crypto art, there will be WOCA, the movie. They will talk about us. They will write about us. They'll learn about us in art classes in the next generation, because we are creating something that is groundbreaking. There hasn't been a movement in art like this for 100 years. So I'm just really pleased to be part of it, and that we can stand up and play our part.
It's definitely happening now. We can feel that the huge interest, in who we are and what we created. So it's definitely happening, and yeah.
Yeah. Silje, so Cryptoart has driven forward the use case for many other types of NFTs. So what are your thoughts on that, where it could go in future?
So there's like a phenomenon that happens when artists move into a space, and you see this in cities where, a lot of you I know were on the Pranksy bus yesterday, and we went to Shoreditch to see the street art. Just a few years ago, Shoreditch wasn't anything cool, but then the artists come in and they just transform a place, and they make it more attractive for people, they make it more relatable for people, and that's exactly what I think artists do to technology as well. So when artists arrived in NFTs, what artists have managed to do is make it more relatable, because it's an awesome technology, but without seeing these kinds of relatable things, and it can be very dry, and people don't understand it. So, I think art has really laid the groundwork for what we see today, and for people being as aware of NFTs as they are today, and bringing it to the mainstream, which really helps, I think, for all of the other applications beyond art. When people can sort of see what it's useful for, and they start experimenting with other things. So yeah, I think art has been really important for that, and art will continue to innovate. Artists always do, and I think that's just a very exciting thing to see it happening in technology as well as in cities and urban spaces and all that.
Yeah, because art was the first one, but we now see writers. I mean, I call myself a writer, and so the platform's of great interest to me. We see the digital fashion artists with this sort of augmented reality. It's all just spiralling out from the sort of fine art that it began with. And I hear a lot of people saying to me, oh, what's the utility of this NFT project? It's art. Art is the utility. You don't need anything else. If you love the art, it has value.
I also want to point out that not only do the artists come to make Shoreditch prettier and more relatable, they raise the value of the real estate. And then all the artists were priced out, and now they're all moving to Ealing. So, I think that's really important to remember. The reason the value is there is because of artists. And the same is true here. I think the difference maybe now is that we are not going to be priced out of our own space. We're going to stay, and we're going to keep creating and keep innovating because that's what we do. And there's space enough in the metaverse, if you want to call it that, the cryptoverse, for us all to be here and to build.
Exactly. We don't have to physically move to another space, so we can just stay on the internet and make it great.
And I wanted to add as well that crypto art is at the forefront of innovation because we don't have to look for utility. We are doing things because for an aesthetic or for a message, but there is no utility. We are doing things for the beauty of art. So we are sometimes pushing the boundary of innovation further. And I've read, I think John Karp said that all the innovation today in the NFT space is being driven by the crypto art because basically, I have in mind, the Matt Cain gazer, this evolving, and I think it really put, dynamic NFTs and how the application now can be used by brands and can be used by the full industry, but it's something that has been pushed and seen by crypto art.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're into the last minute. Stina, any final words from you?
No, not really. I think everyone's...
You've said it all. Silje?
No, just thanks for coming, everyone.
Yeah,
this has
thanks, everyone.
been really nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you'll see on there, there's all our contact details. You can come and see us afterwards about a POAP. We've had technical difficulties today, so the one on the screen might not be the one that works. We've got stickers.
Yes, we've got sticker
We'd love to talk to you about our art. And, thank you for coming and listening to us as well. And just please come and see us afterwards. We'd love to talk to you and tell you all about what we're doing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.